I never thought my life would unravel in a hotel hallway in Boston. I always imagined my marriage with Mike lasting forever, full of love, trust, and laughter. 17 years of marriage, 2 beautiful children, countless memories, all seemed unshakable. And yet there I was, standing in a bathrobe, face flushed, with a man I barely knew lingering in my hotel room, while my family, my husband and children, had flown across the country to surprise me. It started months ago, almost imperceptibly. Mike and I were growing apart, or at least I thought we were. Between his long hours at the law firm, Curtis's soccer games, Sophie's school projects, and my own demanding consulting career, it felt like we had stopped seeing each other as husband and wife and had instead become co-managers of a busy household. Mike had always been the rock, always patient, always present for our children. And I had become someone who moved through life performing roles, mother, wife, professional, without really existing in any of them. I told myself marriage wasn't about constant fireworks, and yet, when Trevor appeared, I felt something stir, something that made me question every decision, every compromise I had made. Trevor was just a colleague at first. Sharp, charismatic, funny, with a wit that seemed to pierce through the monotony of my life. He remembered the little things about me, my favourite coffee, my nervous habit of twisting my hair when stressed, the way I hummed when walking through airports, and for the first time in years, I felt truly seen. It was intoxicating. Dangerous, yes, but intoxicating. I knew the risk. I knew it could destroy everything. Yet I told myself it was harmless, a flirtation, a distraction, nothing more. The first time we met alone during a conference in Chicago, the air was electric. I remember the first glance, the way my heart raced despite every rational warning. That evening, our conversation flowed effortlessly, laughter spilling freely, a connection that felt impossible to ignore. I convinced myself it was a one-time lapse, an insignificant detour from the life I loved. But it wasn't. Each encounter became more, each trip more tempting. I rationalized it. Mike was busy, the kids needed him. I was merely seeking something missing in my life. It wasn't love, I whispered to myself in the quiet hours before sleep. It was just a mistake. And then came the day Mike and the kids arrived in Boston. I had just finished with Trevor when my phone buzzed. A text from Mike. Hope your meetings are going well. Miss you. My chest tightened, my palms sweated. I hadn't anticipated this. I hadn't anticipated that Mike, who always went out of his way to surprise me, would bring our children halfway across the country to see me. Panic surged. My mind scrambled. I imagined Curtis bounding into my arms, Sophie hugging me tightly, both expecting Mommy to be the woman they believed I was. How could I meet them in this state? How could I face the man I had loved for nearly 2 decades and tell him that I had chosen something outside our marriage, that I had risked everything? Trevor lingered, sensing the tension, and muttered something about leaving, a barely audible apology, and then he was gone. Relief and guilt collided inside me. Relief that the stranger had departed, guilt for allowing this to happen at all. I straightened my robe, smoothed my hair, attempted to compose the chaos within me, and braced for the inevitable. The moment Mike walked through the hotel room door, the world seemed to pause. His expression, a mixture of shock, confusion, hurt, hit me like a physical blow. My body froze, my lips parted in a silent plea for escape. Sophie bounced at my feet, her innocent chatter filling the air, while Curtis, ever perceptive, scanned me with eyes too knowing for his age. It was a moment suspended between life and catastrophe, and I had caused it all. "Mike," I whispered, voice trembling, but the words fell flat. "Surprise," he said flatly. The word rang hollow in the space between us, a cruel echo of the love it was supposed to convey. Trevor's departure had left a ghostly silence in its wake, and the truth lay bare, undeniable. Mike's voice, usually soft and warm, now carried the sharpness of betrayal. "Who's in your room, Becca?" I avoided his gaze. "It's not what you think," I whispered, but even I knew he didn't believe me. My heart hammered with shame, my mind flooded with regrets, and my stomach churned with the realization that everything had changed in an instant. I wanted to justify myself. I wanted to plead, to explain that Mike had been distant, that I had been lonely, that my actions were the consequence of neglect, of routine, of a marriage that had slowly dulled. But the words felt hollow, weak, inadequate. I had made a choice. I had betrayed the person who had given me unwavering love for 17 years. The confrontation ended with silence, a chasm between us filled with unspoken accusations and grief. Mike went back to the room with the children, leaving me to wrestle with my conscience in the hallway. I paced, wanting to vanish, to erase the past few months of choices, to rewind time and prevent the disaster I had orchestrated. The guilt was suffocating. Every heartbeat felt like a drumbeat of punishment. That night, I lay awake in the empty hotel room, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts a torrent. I thought of Curtis, whose admiration for me had been pure and unwavering, now threatened by my own selfishness. I thought of Sophie, bright and trusting, still seeing the world in shades of innocence, now exposed to the harshness of betrayal. I thought of Mike, my partner, my friend, my anchor, and the devastation I had brought into his life. Days passed. Mike's silence was deafening. I reached out, offered apologies that felt clumsy, empty, inadequate. The divorce papers arrived 3 weeks later. I stared at them, numb. Signing my name felt like severing a part of my soul, a cruel acknowledgement of irreversible consequences. Every memory, the bedtime stories, the family vacations, the quiet laughter shared in living rooms and kitchens, was overshadowed by the wreckage I had caused. I never wanted this, I whispered, voice trembling. Neither did I, Mike replied. The words were simple, yet they carried the weight of years of love, devotion, and now, heartbreak. I left our home that day feeling like a stranger to my own life, carrying with me the burden of choices made in moments of weakness and longing. The regret was all-encompassing. It wasn't just sorrow, it was the echo of what-ifs, the haunting knowledge that some mistakes leave scars that never fully heal. In the months that followed, I tried to rebuild, to understand, to learn from my failures. I realized the magnitude of what I had lost: trust, love, stability, the innocence of my children's belief in me. Yet, even in the depths of despair, a tiny hope lingered. Perhaps one day forgiveness could be found. Perhaps one day I could show Curtis and Sophie that mistakes do not define us entirely, that redemption is possible, even if it is painstakingly slow. But some nights, when the house was quiet, the weight of my decisions pressed down like a physical force. I replayed every choice, every encounter, every rationalization that had led to my downfall. Trevor's laughter, once thrilling, now haunted me. The moments of fleeting attention and excitement seemed absurdly trivial when weighed against the life I had destroyed. I learned the cruel lesson that desire unchecked by conscience can devastate everything it touches. That attention and affirmation, while intoxicating, can never replace the deeper, enduring love that requires patience, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment. That trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to fully restore. And yet, through the storm of my regret, I also learned about resilience, about the human capacity to confront one's failures, to endure the consequences of our actions, and to strive toward becoming someone better. I couldn't undo the past, but I could carry its lessons forward. I could teach my children that mistakes are part of life, but integrity and honesty must remain non-negotiable. Walking away from that hotel room in Boston had been the first step. Walking away from my home and the life I had known was the hardest, but perhaps, through the ruins of my choices, I could find a path toward understanding, toward self-forgiveness, toward a life lived more consciously. The regret would remain, a constant reminder, but maybe, just maybe, so could hope.